My name is Bill Fisher. This demo covers titles and credits using Adobe Animate. Our credits and title have voiceover accompanying them, so I'm going to create some credits, and the techniques that we use to do that will also be applicable to the titles. To import the audio, I will choose File, Import to Library. Choose the .wav.aif file that we'll be using. And we didn't see anything happen, but it is indeed in the library. I'm going to create a new layer for the credits voiceover. I'll put a keyframe where I think I would like for it to start. And then once I have a keyframe, I can choose it and click on the properties, and under the sound panel, I will find the credits voiceover. And then we simply need to go down the timeline and see if we can find the end of it. I do that by continuing to insert frames. And it looks like the end is right there. Now we're going to want to have the rest of the animation still showing. So I'm going to click the top layer keyframe and hold the Shift key down and click on the bottom layer keyframe. Control click and insert frame. I don't want this word Earth here because that's where I'm going to put the credits. So what I'll need to do is get back to the beginning of the credits, find the layer that that word Earth is on, which is our story text, and right there I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. I've created a folder called Credits, put my credits voiceover there, and another layer called Credits Cloud, where I've put this visual asset. I think it's important to isolate the credits from the background information if we're going to reuse some of that background. Now I've created a type layer. I'm going to get the type tool and draw a box. In that box, I'm going to type flying chicken. And you can see that this is a pretty readable type. There are two kinds of type. One is called display fonts, and the other is called text font. I chose a font that I think can work for both. It's readable at a small size and, of course, at a large size. Let's try a font that may not work that way. This font would be difficult to read in a small size, the kind of size that we would see in paragraphs. However, for a display, a title, it's fine. Sometimes we'll use a different font for the title or the display and a different font for what we call the body copy. A couple of good rules for setting type. Make sure that the lines are not too long. It's difficult to read text that stretches from one end of the screen all the way to the other. And it's good to have large margins so that the text doesn't set up visual tensions with the edges of its container. This would be a bad example of how to set this type. Here's a better example of how to set that same type. You see it's much shorter and has a lot larger margins around it. I was able to do that because I split the copy into two lines. Let's watch the animated version of the credits that I created. The Flying Chicken was written, illustrated, animated, and narrated by Bill Fisher. It's an LEAD production. Even though I animated some of the text in, I didn't do it word by word. I did it line by line. It's important to have the text on the screen as long as possible so that sight-impaired persons can have plenty of time to read it at their own pace. When I turn my paper texture and vignette on, we can see the final visual appearance of our titles. It's important that the titles have the same visual style and impact as the rest of the animation, as well as high contrast text isolated from the background with a visual element. Well, that wraps up the demo for today. Thanks for watching.